I was 7 years old the day I called a stranger Dad and changed both our lives forever. My name is Riley Chen, and until that Tuesday in March, I was just another foster kid bouncing between temporary homes, caseworker appointments, garbage bag suitcases, adults who smiled with their mouths but not their eyes. That morning, my foster mom was driving me to yet another family meet and greet, code for people who wanted to look at me like a rescue puppy they might return. We were arguing. I'd spilled juice on the application papers. She was yelling about responsibility. Then the truck ran the red light. Everything went white, metal screaming, glass everywhere. When I opened my eyes, I was on the sidewalk, and a man in a business suit was kneeling beside me, his tie covered in coffee stains. "You're okay, kiddo. Ambulance is coming," he said, his voice steady even though his hands were shaking. I grabbed his sleeve. Blood was running into my eye from a cut on my forehead. Through the ringing in my ears, I heard sirens, screaming, chaos, and I was so scared. "Don't leave me," I whispered. "Please, Dad, don't leave." The word just came out, like my brain was searching for something solid in a world that was spinning apart. He froze. Our eyes met. And instead of correcting me, instead of pulling away, this stranger, this man I'd never seen before in my life, squeezed my hand. "I'm not going anywhere," he said. If you want to know what happened next, smash that subscribe button right now. Drop a like and comment what you would do if a bleeding child called you dad. Because what this man did next, it broke every rule. And the secret he was hiding, it'll shatter your heart. Stay with me. The paramedics arrived. My foster mom was unconscious but breathing. They loaded us both into ambulances. And the stranger, his name was James Morrison, I learned later, he rode with me. "I'm calling his parents," the EMT said, looking at James. "I'm a family friend," James said without hesitation. "I'll stay until they locate his guardians." That should have been the end of it. A good Samaritan does his duty and walks away. But when we got to the hospital, when a nurse tried to move me to a room alone, I panicked. "Dad," I screamed, reaching for him. "Dad, please." James stopped mid-step. The nurse looked confused. He looked at me, this terrified kid with stitches being threaded into his forehead, and made a choice. He stayed. For 6 hours, he sat beside my hospital bed. He didn't check his phone, didn't make excuses to leave. When I woke up crying from nightmares about the crash, he was there reading me stories from a magazine in terrible cartoon voices until I laughed. When my caseworker finally arrived, a tired woman named Sandra, who barely looked at me, she found us playing tic-tac-toe on a napkin. "Riley's foster mother has a concussion and a broken arm," Sandra sighed. "She's requested he be placed elsewhere. Says this was the final straw." I felt my chest cave in. Another rejection. Another home that didn't want me. James's jaw tightened. "Where will he go?" "Emergency shelter tonight. Then we'll see." Sandra barely looked up from her clipboard. "No." We both stared at him. "No?" Sandra repeated. James stood up, this tall, put-together man in his expensive, ruined suit. "I'll take him. Tonight. I have a guest room. I'll complete whatever paperwork you need." Sandra actually laughed. "Sir, that's not how it works. Background checks, home studies, foster certification." "Then start the process. But he's not spending tonight in a shelter. Not after what he's been through." James's voice went quiet in a way that made it more powerful. I don't remember the car ride to James's apartment. I was on pain medication and exhausted. I just remember waking up in a bed that wasn't mine, in pajamas that were too big, smelling coffee and bacon. The apartment was grown up, modern furniture, no toys. No kid stuff at all. James was in the kitchen, looking at his phone with an expression I couldn't read. When he saw me, he smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Hey, champ, hungry?" I nodded. Breakfast was quiet. He'd bought children's cereal on the way home, the sugary kinds foster parents never let me have. He watched me eat like he was trying to solve a puzzle. "Riley," he finally said, "why did you call me Dad?" I pushed cereal around my bowl. "I don't know. I was scared." "Have you done that before? Called someone else that?" I shook my head. And it was true. In 7 years of foster care, through 6 different homes, I'd never once slipped up and called an adult Mom or Dad. Until him. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "You can take me back if you want." James set down his coffee cup with a sharp clink. "Is that what you think? That I'd throw you away because you made a mistake?" I didn't answer. That's exactly what I thought. That's what always happened. He knelt down beside my chair. "Riley, listen to me. I'm not going anywhere. I made you a promise in that ambulance, and I keep my promises. Okay?" I wanted to believe him, but I'd heard promises before. What I didn't know then, what I wouldn't learn until weeks later, was that James Morrison had his own reasons for saying yes. Reasons that had everything to do with the son he'd lost 3 years ago. Sandra showed up 3 days later with a stack of forms and a skeptical expression. "Mr. Morrison," she settled onto his couch, like she was about to deliver bad news. "I've reviewed your application for emergency foster placement." James sat perfectly still. I was supposed to be in my room, his guest room that he'd filled with toys and books in 72 hours, but I was listening at the door. "There's a problem," Sandra continued. "You're a single man with no prior fostering experience. You work 60-hour weeks as a corporate attorney. You have no family support system in the area. And frankly, sir, your motivation concerns me." My motivation? A child you'd never met calls you Dad in a moment of trauma, and you immediately volunteer to upend your entire life? That raises red flags. James's voice went cold. "What exactly are you implying?" "I'm implying that hero complexes fade, Mr. Morrison. In 6 weeks, when Riley has nightmares every night and you're exhausted and your firm is demanding your attention, you'll realize this isn't sustainable, and that child will be abandoned." Again, silence. "I lost my son 3 years ago." Sandra stopped shuffling papers. "His name was Ethan. He was 8, leukemia." James's voice cracked. "I wasn't there when he died. I was in a deposition, chasing a partnership, because I thought providing financially was the same as being present. His mother, my ex-wife, called me 6 times. I ignored every call. I pressed my hand over my mouth. When Riley called me Dad, I saw Ethan's face, and I made a choice. Not to replace him. You can't replace a child. But to be the father I should have been. To show up. To stay." Sandra was quiet for a long moment. "Mr. Morrison, I'm taking the foster parent training. I'm requesting a reduced work schedule. I'm doing whatever it takes." James stood up. "Because that kid in there has been thrown away by every adult in his life, and I won't be another one." 2 months passed. James did everything he promised. Took the classes, passed the home study, cut his hours at work. I moved from emergency placement to official foster child. But the real test came on my 8th birthday. I'd never had a real birthday party. In foster care, celebrations were minimal. A grocery store cupcake, if you were lucky. That morning, James woke me up with pancakes shaped like a number 8. "Happy birthday, Riley." I stared at the plate. "You remembered?" "Of course I remembered." He looked almost offended. "Get dressed, we have plans." Plans turned out to be the aquarium, my favorite place that I'd mentioned once in passing. Then lunch at a restaurant where they sang to me, then a movie, then home to a living room filled with balloons and a homemade cake. No one else was there. No relatives, no friends, just us. But it was the best day of my life. After cake, James handed me a box. Inside was a photo album, already half filled. Pictures of us at the hospital, at breakfast that first morning, at the park, at his office on Bring Your Kid to Work Day. The last page had a photo from that day, us at the aquarium, both grinning at the shark tank. Underneath, in James's handwriting, the day we became a family. I started crying. Not sad crying, the other kind. "You mean it?" I whispered. "You want to keep me?" James pulled me into a hug. "Riley, I'm filing for adoption next week, if that's what you want. You'll be a Morrison, legally, officially, permanently. No more temporary, no more foster care." "Yes," I sobbed into his shoulder. "Yes, Dad." This time, the word wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. The adoption hearing was 6 months later. I wore a new suit that James had bought specifically for the occasion. We sat in a courtroom that smelled like old books and furniture polish, holding hands. The judge was a kind-looking woman with gray hair. "Mr. Morrison, Riley, I've reviewed your case. The social worker reports are glowing. Riley's therapist says he's thriving. Teachers report dramatic improvements in behavior and academics." James squeezed my hand. "However," the judge continued, "I need to hear from Riley directly. Son, do you understand what adoption means?" I nodded. "It means forever. And is this what you want, for Mr. Morrison to become your legal father?" I looked at James, at this man who'd stayed when he could have walked away, who'd read bedtime stories and attended school plays, and taught me how to ride a bike, who'd held me through nightmares about the crash and never once complained, who chose me. You remember, I called him Dad before I knew his name, and he's been my dad every day since. I want it to be official. The judge smiled. "Mr. Morrison, do you have anything to add?" James cleared his throat. When he spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. 3 years ago, I lost my son, and I thought I'd lost my chance to be a father. Then Riley grabbed my hand and gave me a second chance. He saved me as much as I saved him. And I promise this court, I promise Riley, I will spend the rest of my life being worthy of that trust. The judge brought down her gavel. Adoption granted. Congratulations, Mr. Morrison, Riley Morrison. I'm 13 now. Last week, Dad and I visited Ethan's grave together for the first time. I'd asked to go, asked to meet my brother in a way. Dad placed flowers on the headstone. I placed a photo. Me and Dad at my 8th grade graduation, both in matching ties. "Ethan," Dad said quietly, "this is Riley, your brother. He's smart and kind and has a terrible sense of humor, just like you did. I think you would have liked him." I knelt beside the grave. "Hey, Ethan, I'm sorry I never got to meet you, but I want you to know that your dad, our dad, he's the best, and I'm gonna make sure he never misses another important moment. I promise." On the drive home, Dad was quiet. I finally asked, "Do you think I'm replacing him, Ethan?" Dad pulled over, turned to face me fully. "Riley, you didn't replace Ethan. You didn't erase him. But you gave me a reason to keep living when I was just going through the motions. You both taught me the same lesson in different ways." "What lesson?" "That being a father isn't about biology. It's about showing up. It's about choosing every single day to put someone else first. I failed Ethan, but I won't fail you." Last month, Dad and I were at the grocery store when a woman approached us. "Excuse me," she said hesitantly. "I was there 5 years ago when that car accident happened. I saw you with that little boy, covered in blood, and you just stayed with him. I always wondered what happened." Dad smiled, putting his arm around my shoulders. "He became my son." The woman's eyes filled with tears. "That's beautiful." After she left, I looked up at Dad. "Do you ever regret it, taking me home that night?" "Never, not once." He ruffled my hair. "Best decision I ever made." That night, I found him in his office, looking at old photos, pictures of Ethan, pictures of me, side by side. "Dad?" He looked up. "Thank you," I said, "for keeping your promise, for staying." James Morrison, my father, legally and in every way that matters, smiled. "Thank you for giving me a second chance to get it right." Family isn't defined by DNA or birth certificates. It's defined by who shows up when you're bleeding on a sidewalk, who stays when they could walk away, who chooses you over and over every single day. I called a stranger a dad in a moment of fear, and he became my father in a lifetime of love. Sometimes the family you find is the family you were always meant to have. Drop a comment with one word that describes your family. And if this story touched your heart, subscribe for more Found's Family Tales that prove love is always a choice.